Good day, everyone. I'm Ma'am Carla, not your typical, but your tender, loving English teacher broadcast. For today, we will discuss the different materials we can use to gather information, how to find information sources, and how to check the validity and reliability of these sources. Are you ready to learn all of these? Then fly in and join the fun in learning English. Start our lesson, let's warm up first. I will be asking you 3 questions, and let's see if you can guess the answers correctly. Are you ready? Good! Here's my first question. Do you know where to find information if you are asked to research about the life of our national hero, Dr. Jose P. Rizal? Very good! You're correct! History books. Now, here's my second question. If we're looking for the meaning of a difficult word, what's the best source for this? Great! You're right. The answer is a dictionary. And for my third and last question, if we are watching a documentary film, can we consider it as a good source of information? Why or why not? Cool! Your answer is correct. A documentary film is a good source of information and we can learn a lot from it. Now, it's time to discuss our main lesson. Today, we will study about where to get information from various sources in everyday life. Information, as available data everywhere, can be found in different platforms and through different means, such as news reports, speeches, informative talks, and panel discussions, among others. Knowing how to identify sources will help you understand what type of sources they are. As we know, in this era where social media, trending topics, and hashtags are in the spotlight, with cheap information available anytime and fake news spreading everywhere, getting valuable information from credible sources has been very difficult to do. Share them indiscriminately and unknowingly destroy other people's reputations, or worse, create fear in innocent people. To avoid a trap, an understanding of the various types of sources can come in handy. With this, you will be able to predict the form, context, and use of the type of information you encounter, and determine the relevance and its authenticity. As a starter, let's try answering our first activity. I want you to identify the source described in each number. Use the clue provided. Write your answers in your notebook. Number 1. It is a book or set of books that gives information on many subjects or in many aspects of one subject and typically arranged alphabetically. That's right! It is an encyclopedia. Number 2. It is an organized conversation where one participant asks questions while the other provides answers. Correct! It is an interview. Number 3. It is a yearly address by the President of the Philippines to a joint session of the Congress of the Philippines that is usually delivered every 4th Monday of July. You're exactly right. It is the State of the Nation address, or also known as the SANA. Number 4, it refers to an alphabetical list of names, subjects, or others with references to the places where they occur. It is typically found at the end of a book. Yes, It is an index. Number 5, this is a list of books of a specific author or publisher or on a specific subject. Brilliant! It's called the bibliography. How many did you get? Cool! Give yourself a gentle pat in the back for acing your first activity. Now, get ready with your self-learning module and bring out your pen and paper as we discover the different types of information from various sources. Let's go! Getting information will basically expose you not only to a pool of information, but will also help you identify which details are factual and not. There are various sources of information that you may use in finding significant details and data that can be used in your daily life. Sources of information may be classified as primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. The context of information presented in a source is helpful in classifying information. Let's discuss them one by one. First, primary sources. Sources of information are classified as primary if they are original or authentic and have not been subjected to evaluation or assessment. Primary sources report discoveries and sharing of first-hand information. It means that the person saw or experienced the event, read the document, or looked at the actual thing he is writing about. This is information written at a certain time of period of research. Definition of primary sources varies depending on the contexts and/or disciplines. Now, let's go on a trip. Could you wait for me? Ta-da! I am ready. Are you? Okay. Cool. Do you know what place this is? You're right. We're in one of the historic urban destinations in Manila called Rizal Park, more popularly known as Luneta. Did you know that this place is considered as one of the largest urban parks in Asia? Yes, you heard me right. That's because it covers an area of 58 hectares. Well, during the Spanish era, this used to be called Bagong Bayan. Hey! Do you see that? Aha! That is the Rizal Monument. Oh, wait! I'm gonna take a selfie. This is so lovely. Hold on. I will post this on my Instagram account. Revisiting the wonders of Manila on a beautiful day. Hashtag when in Luneta. Hashtag it's more fun in the Philippines. Hashtag primary source. Wow, fantastic! Yeah, a picture. This is a primary source. Since we saw the monument with our very own eyes and took a picture of it, we gathered a primary source. Seeing and experiencing a primary source is a good way to get information. Examples of primary sources are photographs, speeches, video recordings, government records, communication, newspapers, and magazines that portray information from eyewitnesses. Your turn! I want you to do the same. Browse your last travel photos on your phone's gallery and post the best one on your social media account using the hashtag DepEd TV primary source. Next source of information, secondary sources. Secondary sources provide information, discussion, and/or interpretation of the evidences. These are also information written by authors who did not personally witness the event or action. The definition of secondary sources varies depending on the contexts and/or disciplines. To better understand secondary sources, I want you to look at my picture and write something about it on a piece of paper. Can you guess how I felt during that trip? Or how many times I have been there? What about the place? What could you say about it? If you wrote, Ma'am Carla looks overjoyed during the trip, she has been to Luneta thrice, and Luneta is a beautiful and spacious historical park, then you're absolutely right. Now, since you gave your interpretations and comments about my picture, you now have a commentary, which is an expression of opinions or description or explanation about an event or situation. It is a secondary source. Examples of secondary sources are commentaries,
critics,
evaluations, histories, journals and magazines that do not portray information from eyewitnesses. Lastly, tertiary sources. Tertiary sources serve as a collection of primary and secondary sources. Examples of tertiary sources are bibliographies, directories, dictionaries, almanacs, abstracts,
indices,
encyclopedias, and databases. Got them? Okay, let's recap. Primary sources are first-hand accounts of events recorded during or shortly after the events described occurred. While secondary sources are analyses of the evidences. These are the ones that are created later by someone who did not experience firsthand or participate in the events. And tertiary sources are materials that serve as a collection of primary and secondary sources. Again, we have primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. Now, let's see if you understand the three sources. I want you to answer Learning Task 2 on page 6 of your self-learning
module.
Identify if each source of information is considered primary, secondary, or tertiary. Write your answers on a piece of paper. Number 1, encyclopedia. Number 2, interview with a politician. 3, State of the Nation address. 4,
indices.
5, bibliography. 6, history of Tayabas. 7, court hearing. 8, references. 9, EDSA People Power Picture. And 10, biography. Now let's see if you got them right. Encyclopedia is tertiary. Interview with a politician, primary. State of the Nation address is primary.
Indices.
Tertiary. Bibliography is tertiary. History of Tayabas, tertiary. Court hearing, primary. References is tertiary. EDSA People Power Picture is primary. Biography is secondary. What's your score? Are you satisfied with what you got? No problem. That's why there are only second chances. Let's have a second round. Identify if each source of information is considered primary, secondary, or tertiary source. Don't forget to write it down on a piece of paper. Number 1, letter. 2, abstract. 3, dictionary. 4, autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. 5, CCTV footage. 6, glossary. 7, movie review. 8, greeting card. 9, almanac. And 10, diary. You have 10 seconds to finalize your answers. I'm sure you got a better score now. Maybe a perfect score? Wow! You're undeniably impressive. Time's up! Let's check your answers. Number 1, letter, is primary. 2, abstract, tertiary. 3, dictionary, is tertiary. Number 4, autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, primary. Number 5, CCTV footage, primary. 6, glossary, tertiary. 7, movie review, secondary. 8, greeting card, primary. 9, almanac, is tertiary. 10, diary, primary. I'm sure you got a better score now. Maybe a perfect score? Wow! You are undeniably impressive. Is everything clear? Great! This time, let's work on learning task 4 on page 8 of your self-learning
module.
This activity is about Bliss Abraham Lincoln's The Gettysburg Address, which was delivered on November 19, 1863, at the official dedication ceremony for the National Cemetery of
Gettysburg.
in Pennsylvania in the United States of America. He gave this speech exactly at one of the sites of the most unforgettable and significant battles of the American Civil War. This remarkable address was considered as one of the central speeches in American history. Fun fact! Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States. His presidency spanned for about 4 years only. That's from 1861 to 1865. He is known as the Great Emancipator because he preserved the Union during the American Civil War and brought the emancipation or freedom of the slaves. One of his famous lines is, "My concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right." He said this when a man called his attention during an interview and told him, "Mr. President, we trust during this time of trial in which the nation is engaged, God is on our side and will give us victory." Again, he replied, "My concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right." What does that mean? Lincoln's quotation reminds us that being on God's side is better than knowing that He is on our side. This means that if we are guided by God, we will extend this love to the world around us in the way we interact with people around us. We will love, forgive, and treat others fairly. And besides, since God is God, shouldn't we already know that He has promised that He will always be with us at all times? Now, let's read Blaise Abraham Lincoln's The Gettysburg Address. Then answer the questions that follow. Write your answers on a piece of paper. Number 1, is the information primary, secondary, or tertiary? Explain. Since the
Gettysburg
Address was written by Abraham Lincoln himself, this information is primary. Number 2, how many years do 87 years mean? 1 score is equivalent to 20 years, times 4 is 80. Therefore, 87 years is 87. Number 3, what do you think was the occasion being celebrated when Lincoln delivered this speech? Explain your answer. Lincoln's speech commemorated the deaths of the soldiers of the Civil War. Remember, there are various sources of information that you may use in finding significant details and data that can be used in your daily life. Sources of information may be classified as primary, secondary, or tertiary sources. The context of information presented in a source is helpful in classifying information. Finally, for your assignment, answer Learning Task 6 on page 9 of your self-learning
module.
Learning English may be difficult at first, but if you put your heart in it, you will surely love it. Again, I am Ma'am Carla, Heart Your Service.